Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here, showing off the profile for my new Buster Stun deck, a surprisingly effective use of Buster Bladers designed to make your opponent stop in the middle of their combos and think about what it really means to be a dragon. For a monster lineup, we have one Psyframe Garnet, one Buster Garnet, the Destruction something, two of the original Buster Garnet, 3 crisp $80 bills, 3 terraforming but for traps, 3 of the old Gamma Slamma, 3 Whelp, 1 Amorphage Goliath but cuter, and 3 anti-effect angels. For spells, we're playing 3 Piping Hot Cups of Noodles, triple twin tongue twisters, and 3 World Legacy Clash Bang Zoom. For traps, we're playing 3 copies of Flash, oh, Savior of the Universe, 2 Buster Polymerization, essentially, 3 of the Trap that literally makes the deck go, and 3 Trap Trick. Our extra deck consists of 2 Satan, according to Guard Dragon players, 1 Alligator Sword Dragon, yes, I did not stutter, Alligator Sword Dragon, 1,000 Eyes Restrict, 1 Herda, 1 Gigantacastel, 1 Omega, 2 DNA Surgery on legs, Papa Corn, Psyframe Limit Break, Nightmare Cerberus, the Dragon Balls, a little Linky Boy, and Almirage. The side deck I'll go over in a bit. So, Buster Blader. There's not many decks in this game with a win condition as clear as this one. You've got your Fusion, Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, who basically says, fuck you to all dragons. While he's on the field, all dragons your opponent controls go to defense mode and they can't activate their effects. Also, he gains 1,000 for every dragon on your opponent's field and in their graveyard, and he does piercing damage. You combine this with Buster Dragon, who, among other things, says all your opponent's monsters become dragons. Yeah, it's that simple. If you get these both on the field, your opponent basically can't do anything with their monsters, and you're going to hit them for a lot of damage. The question then becomes, how, in the name of SEMO, can you possibly summon both of these in the same turn under Master Rule 4? And the answer is, it is shockingly easy. In fact, it is a 1-card combo. Buster Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman, in addition to being an adorable little kitty dragon thing, does everything. If it is normal summoned, you can add 1 Destruction Sword card from your deck to your hand. You will add Prologue of the Destruction Swordsman. Then you will send your helpful little whelp to the graveyard in order to summon Almirage, a Link 1 who is almost as adorable and just as important. You set the trap you just searched and pass to your opponent's turn. Said trap allows you to special summon 1 Buster Dragon from your extra deck by sending 1 Buster Blader and 1 Destruction Sword from your deck to the graveyard. The Destruction Sword card you will choose is this trap, Destruction Sword Memories. Buster Dragon will be summoned to the zone that Almirage points to. Once you've done that, you use Almirage's effect, which is to tribute itself to make 1 monster you control undestructible for a turn. This will free up your extra monster zone so that you can fusion summon. Destruction Sword Memories, that card you sent to the grave earlier with this, can be banished from the graveyard to fusion a Buster Blader monster by banishing the materials from your graveyard. The materials for this big dude are Buster Blader, which you sent to the graveyard with Prologue, and any dragon-type monster, and what do you know? Buster Whelp is a dang old dragon. So there you go, bada bingo, bada bango. 1 card to get you both of your boss monsters during your opponent's turn, allowing you to shut them down mid-combo, as suddenly all their monsters become defense position dragons that can't activate their effects. Alternatively, if you open with Whelp and Instant Fusion, you could do the same play, only better. Instead of just linking your kitty dragon away by itself, you use Instant Fusion to summon the Alligator Sword meme. Then you'll have 2 dragons on board, allowing you to make Heavenly Spheres. This in turn will allow you to summon both of your extra deck monsters with ease, while giving you some additional interruption. If you're unfamiliar with this thing, it can tribute itself during the opponent's turn to bounce a card back to their hand and then summon a dragon from your deck. Not only is this decent monster removal, but it will allow you to get out Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. This slightly bigger whelp can attach itself to a Buster Blader you control, and while it's attached, your opponent can't summon from the extra deck. It can't attach itself to the fusion using its own effect, but if you get it into the graveyard, Buster Dragon can equip it to the fusion during your opponent's turn, allowing for even more lockdown. Now this all seems pretty sweet, but there's two big problems with this deck. One, Buster Dragon is destroyed at the end of your next turn, and since it wasn't properly synchro summoned, you can't resurrect it from the graveyard with anything. Two, your fusion monster can't attack directly, so if your opponent manages to clear their board, you're not getting any damage in, and even if you do get the one attack, it's usually not enough to OTK, and from there they can slow the game to a crawl by just not summoning anything. Fortunately, this deck has some ways to play around these problems. The first problem is best dealt with using World Legacy Clash. This is a quick play that allows you to banish a monster you control until the end phase to lower an opponent's monster's attack and defense by that banished monster's attack and defense. If you use this on Buster Dragon, not only will it lower your opponent's defense position monsters by 2800, allowing for maximum piercing in most cases, but it essentially just resets the status of the monster, meaning it won't be destroyed at the end of your next turn, and will instead stay out indefinitely. Barring that, your best bet is to search Destruction Sword Flash. This is a trap that says if you control a Buster Blader fusion, you can banish all monsters your opponent controls. This is devastating removal in its own right, but it is especially brutal after your opponent has already had their plays shut down the turn prior. It's a bit counterproductive since banishing everything means you can't attack with your fusion, but oftentimes the loss of their entire board will demoralize the opponent enough to just make them surrender outright. If not, it should at least buy you a turn, get you some time to get more things on board. If you allow your opponent to link summon before you flash them, you can hopefully get out Thanos Dragon, which will allow you to put some much needed damage on board. If not, then you're stuck poking them to death with Lilith until you get enough resources to link summon and do the combo again. Which is actually not all that hard considering we have a generic link too, and your combo can be started with Prologue, which is searchable with Lilith, Trap Trick, and Buster Whelp. Speaking of that generic link too, there's a lot of options I could have gone with for this slot, but I went with Lambda because why the hell not? The Buster Blader engine is so small I'm already running a bunch of hand traps, and I thought I'd run Gamma as well, and this thing has synergy with Gamma. In addition to being a Link 2 with the good arrows, it allows you to activate Gamma even if you have monsters on the field, which has always been the weakness of Psy-Frames. If you open with Instant Fusion, any normal summonable monster, and some way to get to Prologue, you could do that main Buster Stun combo by substituting this goofy bastard as the dragon you need for fusion material, and making Lambda instead of Spheres or Almirage. Also, you could substitute Link Karibo for Almirage in the combo, if you want to be daring and wait until the battle phase to summon your fusion. As for the rest of our extra deck, the other two links are just sort of like generic toolbox cards. You can play whatever you want, really. They're not important to any combos. Omega is there to summon if you activate Gamma on your turn and just happen to have the pieces on board. Gigantic Castle can be made with your fusion and any of your level 1 tuners, in case, your opponent thinks they can avoid lethal damage by just not summoning any monsters, then you drop this on them. And Archfiend Abyss can be made with Buster Dragon in any of your tuners. So if your Buster Dragon is going to be destroyed in the end phase, and you have Effect Veiler or either of your Whelps, you can just make this instead of letting it die, assuming you have the extra monster zone. Oh, and Restrict is an instant fusion target going second. You can turn it into Link Karibo in a pinch, still do your combo, or you can use it to make Lamba if you just have a normal summonable monster. All that leaves in the main deck is Twin Twisters, which is just spell trap removal. If you want to side out anything, it'll likely be this or the Phantasms. They can both be nearly useless in certain matchups, which is why I offer some alternatives in the side deck. If you're going second, Pankratops is a great way to get some extra damage on board without relying as much on the opponent summoning something specific. Defrag Dragon, meanwhile, is a 1000 attack dragon that can be special summoned by discarding a monster, or just normal summoned, which gives it some utility. It can be used to make spheres alongside either of your Whelps. It can complete the Almirage combo by itself, assuming you already have Prologue or a way to get to it. And it's another 1k beater alongside Lilith, which can be good if you have 2 flashes to back it up. I almost chose this over Phantasmi, but decided it was worth the risk to play something with higher attack, even if it was a little bit more difficult to summon. Finally, since we're playing Lilith and Trap Trick, it's not too difficult to tech in some strong generic traps. Mirror Force and Torrential Tribute are both viable options, but I decided to go with Get Out since it's new and different and interesting. Everything else here in the side deck is just some other options I was considering. This can be used if your opponent already has dragons. It lets you fusion summon with their side of the board. Originally I had Nightmare Mermaid and Iblian here, since you can lock down your opponent while giving them a 0 defense monster to attack into, but this deck already had too many Gardents and I didn't want to add another one to it. Likewise, I originally had 2 more of these lockdown Whelps, but I took them out because they're useless against some decks, and kind of boring even if they do work. The final card in here, the 3rd Whelp, Wizard Buster Destruction Sword, stops your opponent from activating graveyard effects while it's equipped. Might be a nice one-of to replace the Swordy Whelp if your opponent is playing zombies or some other graveyard-based deck. I don't know, experiment around with it. These decks are kind of designed as a shell to show you what the archetype can do, so that you can then take it and make your own thing with it. Regardless, there's the profile for Buster Stun. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see it in action, you can check out the main video. There, I'll be playing 10 random duels against opponents on YGOPro, showing off how this works. Or if you're short on time, just check out the replay video. Both should be on the end card and linked down in the description. Anyway, until next time, good luck and have fun.